The scene is sparkling, sunny Miami, Florida. The stadium is the Orange Bowl, and the game is the Colts versus the Dolphins, the most exciting of last week's 3 games between conference leaders and their closest challengers. The Dolphins play amid palm trees, fountains, constant sunshine, and sellout crowds. Today's crowd is the largest in Dolphin history. Included are Florida beauties and Miami celebrities, for the Dolphins are finally in fashion in southern Florida. During their early years, critics felt the team couldn't compete with all the obvious distractions Florida has to offer besides football. The Miami fan was a long way from Minnesota's or Green Bay's as a football follower. But in the last 2 years, since the coming of Don Shula, the Dolphins have grown from football adolescence into one of the most powerful teams in the NFL. 2 prime reasons are their Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid running tandem of Larry Zonka and Jim Kick. The 2 rank 1st and 6th in rushing in their conference, and both are brutal blockers. This year, the Colts have also turned to the running game due to the presence of Norm Bulash, Don McCauley, Tom Matty, and Don Nottingham. But today, they were overshadowed by the return from the rocking chair of John Unitas. The battering of 16 NFL seasons shows on his 38-year-old body, but John Unitas, just a year ago voted the greatest quarterback in the NFL's first 50 years, insists one thing hasn't changed: his arm. Last Sunday, he was getting his first chance to prove it as a starter. The game was the first of 2 meetings in 3 weeks between these 2 contenders for first place in the AFC's Eastern Division. Going into it, the defending Super Bowl champions trailed Miami by 1/2 a game. I'm Bob Delaney, and this is the NFL Game of the Week, the Baltimore Colts versus the Miami Dolphins. Under sunny blue skies on a beautiful November afternoon, Miami had first possession of the ball. Their plan was to run. The Colts' strategy was to stop it, especially on first down, to force a pass and prevent ball control. The Colts prevailed. Baltimore took over for its first series, and led by the man who has thrown more passes for more yardage and more touchdowns than any player in football history, the Colts began a march that began on their 23 and ended in Miami's end zone. After an initial ground thrust by Norm Bulash, Baltimore kept the ball in the air. A fine catch, despite perfect coverage by tight end Tom Mitchell, produced the first down of 5 Baltimore would get in this one series. After Unitas hit Mitchell again, he double pumped and hit Tom Matty over the middle for 10 yards and another first down. Unitas was magnificent on this drive toward the goal. He completed 5 of 5 passes, all of them short, and he directed his team like the Unitas of old. Once he was in sight of the goal, he turned to his ground game. Tom Matty battered in to the 3-yard line. A repeat of Matty's run shows number 75 pulling guard John Williams got only a piece of number 40 safety Dick Anderson, who helped on the tackle. On the next play, Unitas gave to Don Nottingham the bowling ball from Kent State. This time, number 75, Williams, wiped out his man completely. And though number 13, Jake Scott, made the tackle, Nottingham carried him in for the score. The 5-foot, 10-inch rookie was the Colts' 17th and last draft choice this year. Super Bowl hero Jim O'Brien returned to the scene of glory to kick the extra point. Even such a mundane play as the point after is unique in Miami. Baltimore was not only ahead by a touchdown, but had controlled the ball for nearly 9 minutes of the first quarter. Miami got their hands on the football again, but in poor field position. Hubert Ginn, the second-year speedster from Florida A&M, was wiped out, fumbled, but a teammate recovered. However, a clipping penalty set the Dolphins back to the 9-yard line. So on this, their second series of the game, Miami was in a hole, and the Colts defense kept them there. Baltimore was keying on the Miami setbacks, and the strategy was working perfectly, as the Dolphins couldn't buy a first down. However, on the Colts' second offensive series, their attack also bogged down. It never got going again in the first half. Midway in the second period, Greasy finally got his team moving. He'd abandoned the run and taken to the air. After some short passes to his setbacks, he hit his tight end Marv Fleming for merely the second Miami first down. Fleming had lost his starting job to Jim Mandich, but was playing today because of a neck injury to the former All-American from Michigan. Don Shula had installed his change of pace runner, Mercury Morris, and on the next play, Mercury threw a fastball. For the first time today, the Miami fans had something to cheer about. Or did they? Larry Zonka had been detected clipping, and the touchdown was called back. Several plays later, and still in position to score, Bob Greasy was blindsided by a blitzing Ray May and coughed up the ball. Miami's only scoring threat was ended. A repeat shows May simply rolled over Greasy like wheat in the wind. But despite the unpleasant surprise, the quarterback still had the poise to try for the ball. Nevertheless, the Colts defense had once again made the big play in a critical game for both teams. For the rest of the second half, it was defense and more defense from both sides. The Dolphins, led by number 85, Nick Bonaconte, swarmed the Colts on every play. Bonaconte, who made 8 tackles today, is one of the smallest but quickest middle linebackers in the game. And he and safety Dick Anderson, who also made 8 tackles, stopped the Colts' strong runners all day. One of the few times Unitas threw in the late stages of the half produced a break for the Dolphins. The Miami pass rush was bothering Unitas, and number 25 cornerback Tim Foley came up with the interception. But even this Miami break meant nothing because the Dolphins could not advance the football. Jim Kick finally captured a bobbled screen from Greasy, only to be swarmed under for a loss of 9. And when Greasy unloaded the bomb to Paul Warfield, number 20 safety Jerry Logan stayed with him to break up a perfect pass. This was the man Baltimore feared, and so far in the game, Warfield had been shut out. Another fine Greasy pass, broken up by long linebacker Ted Hendricks, seemed to symbolize the Dolphins' frustration in a barren first half. With the exception of Baltimore's one long touchdown-producing drive, the two teams went into the locker room pretty even. If there was any significant trend to be discerned from the first 2 quarters, it was that Johnny Unitas, who began with a hot hand, had been cooled off considerably. In fact, the Miami defense had become increasingly aggressive and effective, and Unitas' performance had suffered accordingly. Momentum is an overworked word, and there was little of it to be found in the first half. But if it was there at all, it belonged to the team on the short end of the score, the Miami Dolphins. It is said that every game contains 4 or 5 key plays that directly determine its outcome. But there are a number of plays that fall right under this group that indirectly affect a game but are just as crucial. Such a play was the second half kickoff. Charlie Pittman's 47-yard return was nullified due to a Baltimore clip. The penalty made the Colts start from their own 11 instead of near midfield, which changed the offensive strategy of the series. Unitas tried to work his way out of the hole with the short game. But the Dolphin defense turned this short game into short gain. On 3 successive downs, Bonaconte and company stifled the Colts offense as they had done on every series in the game so far, except the first one. So on 4th down, David Lee punted from his own end zone. It was a good punt, but the Dolphins offense would start the second half inside Colts territory. This is how the penalty on the opening kickoff indirectly affected the game's outcome. The Dolphins had good field position, which led to the tying score. Bob Greasy began by unleashing his running attack, which at first consisted of Bob Greasy. Then Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid began to roll behind the superb blocking of their offensive line, which has often stood in the shadow of its 2 runners. During the half, the Dolphins changed their running strategy. The Colts defense was reading rather than ball reacting. So he sent his runners on quick pops up the middle, and the new strategy worked, as Kick and Zonka, playing on a bruised knee, took it to the 10. Here, another key play indirectly affected the game's outcome, and again it was a Colt penalty. Jerry Logan bumped Warfield on his crossing pattern in the end zone. Logan may or may not have saved a score. We'll never know. But the Dolphins now had a first down on the 1, not 3rd and 10. Behind the blocking of Zonka, Norm Evans and Jim Langer, Jim Kick snuck over for the score. Butch and Sundance had once again spearheaded their team's offense, as the loveliness of a pretty face showed her gratitude to the dynamic duo and their team. The score was now tied at 7. The Dolphins' momentum was sustained on the next Colts series as Unitas's flare pass was smelled out and intercepted by linebacker Doug Swift, setting the Dolphins up on the Colts 10. Dolphin scouts must be credited with digging Swift out of tiny Amherst College, the only pro from that school. Pretty soon, the scouts may decide to go to Bates, Colby, and even Bowdoin. They'll go to any lengths to find the right man, and Doug Swift has certainly been the right man in the right place at the right time for Miami. It took Greasy 1 play to capitalize on Swift's big interception. He sent both wide receivers down and out, clearing the middle for tight end Marv Fleming, number 80, and easily found him all alone for the score. It was nothing to sneeze at, but the Dolphin crowd had their white hankies a-flying anyway. A repeat of the touchdown shows that Greasy kept both his backs in to block for him and caught the Colts sleeping, throwing over their linebackers. It was Fleming's first touchdown catch since coming to Miami in a trade for Jack Clancy 2 years ago, one of Don Shula's first moves as the new Dolphin coach. And Fleming had put the Dolphins ahead midway through the 3rd quarter, 14-7. Baltimore then began a drive that would result in tying the score, but not without cost. Ray Perkins took an end around down the left sideline, knocked over tackler Jake Scott, and knocked himself out cold. Larry Zonka watched Perkins being attended to, probably thinking if it had been him, the tackler would have been down for the count, not Zonka. On the play, Unitas too had been injured, blocking for Perkins. Perkins had a concussion, and Earl Morrow came in for Unitas. Somehow the turn of events seemed to inspire the Colts. John Mackey took Morrow's pass to the Dolphin 28. Mackey has been relegated to the bench this year, but was in now for Tom Mitchell. Then, although number 84, Bill Stanfill, was checked out nicely by Bob Vogel, Manny Fernandez, number 75, got to the venerable Colts field general to bring up a 3rd and 17. Neither Morrill nor Unitas has been particularly sharp this year, but here Morrill fired to Eddie Hinton, who had replaced Perkins, and Hinton himself, benched for poor play, scooped it up for 16 yards, 1 yard shy of a first at the 19. So on 4th and 1, Don McCafferty went for it. It was a big gamble with more than a quarter left, but it worked. Tom Matty got it, and on the next play got 12 more to the 6. Matty and Boulash should challenge Butch and Sundance with their own nicknames. Matty runs like an Indian scout, and Boulash is a Texan. Thus, it's the Lone Ranger and Tonto. The Lone Ranger, Boulash, tied the score on the next play as number 40, Dick Anderson's chase was futile. Another view of the score showed that Morrill's fake pitch wide froze the linebacker just long enough to let Big Boo slide into the end zone. The touchdown brought momentum back to Baltimore and ended the third quarter with the game tied at 14. As they watched the Colts kickoff following the tying touchdown, Butch and Sundance had 1 quarter left to bring this caper to a successful termination. Greasy continued to fool the Colts line and linebackers, faking the wide play and sending Zonka up the middle. But the Dolphins were stopped on their first series of the final period, as on 3rd down, Rick Volk stopped Greasy's attempt to Warfield. Warfield hurt his ankle and had written himself out of the rest of this drama. That is, for all but one final soliloquy he would perform later. The Dolphins had to give up the ball, but a good punt gave the Colts poor field position at their own 8. Morrill quickly got out of trouble. A fake draw to Boulash allowed Mackey to get open over the middle, and Baltimore was seemingly out of trouble. But a holding penalty set them back, causing a 1st and 25. It was here that a rare sight occurred as Morrill decided to improvise. Watching the 37-year-old Colt run brings to mind the exit of an irate pachyderm from the jungle. Morrill gained 16 yards on his jaunt, but he still needed 9 for the first. The Dolphins' defense allowed no further penetration. Although the game ball later went to the Dolphins' offense, it is the defense that has been the big factor in their rise from obscurity only a few years ago, as Don Shula's emphasis on rangy linebackers and good zone defense has prevented teams from scoring many points. Curtis Johnson's near interception here forced the Colts to give up the ball once again. From here, the Dolphins mounted what would turn out to be their winning offensive, and the Big Bull led the way. A piling on penalty really hurt the Colts here, as the play and the penalty totaled 39 yards. Greasy then beat a blitz and got a 1st down on a pass to Carl Noonan, subbing for Warfield. Noonan used to start before Warfield came to Miami, and his clutch catch took it to the Colts' 20. But on a 3rd and 2, Mercury Morris couldn't get outside, and the Colts had forced a field goal attempt. On a repeat of the 3rd down play, watch number 20, Jerry Logan, read the wide play perfectly and pursue the speedy Morris, stopping him for no gain. So on 4th down, with 7.5 minutes left and the game tied, the merchant from the Middle East came in. Garo Yepremian had not missed from inside the 30 all year, and he came through again. The Cypriot Portsider had kicked the biggest three-pointer of his career, which increased his AFC scoring lead, but more importantly gave Miami a 17-14 lead. The Colts would have one more chance to tie or go ahead, and Morrill took them downfield quickly on a 33-yard gainer to number 33, Eddie Hinton. But Hinton's catch marked the beginning of the end for the Colts. Watch Miami's number 25, Tim Foley, seemingly blocked out, come back to break down Matty's blocking and stop the play. On second down, Morrill had the time and thought he saw Willie Richardson beat the cornerback to be open. Richardson had beaten the cornerback, but he had deep help from safety Dick Anderson. The deceptive zone defense had again foiled Morrill, and on third down it killed him. Instead of calling a run or short pass to set up a field goal, Morrill went deep, and Dick Anderson was right there to make the biggest play of the game. Anderson, Scott, Foley, and Johnson have perfected their zone coverage to become one of the finest secondaries in all of football. On a repeat of the theft, watch Morrill closely. He did look short at first, but he had to roll out of the pocket and decided to go for the desperation heave. He would have been wiser to throw it away. The interception ended what was to be the Colts' last offensive series of the game. There were 3 minutes left now. The Dolphins needed to control the ball and get at least one first down to keep possession. But Zonka was stopped, and it brought up a 3rd and 3. Enter the legs of Mercury with a message for his team. Mercury was Paul Warfield, who brought the key play in from the bench. It was, of course, his own play, a quick out for the necessary yardage, and he and Greasy executed it perfectly. It was the biggest first down of the game, as with under 2 minutes remaining, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid ran out the remaining time easily. Zonka, who was held to 15 yards in the first half, gained 93 on the day and kept right on running into the locker room. The Dolphins followed him in with their most important win in their short history. The 17-14 victory over Baltimore put the Dolphins a game and a half ahead of the Colts with 4 to play to set up their next showdown in Baltimore on December 11th. But by that time, it may be too late for the Colts. For Butch, Sundance, Greasy, Yepremian, and the defense had seen to it that the Colts now have an uphill climb to the playoff, while Don Shula's Dolphins are swimming with the current, riding the crest of a wave that may carry them across the Gulf of Mexico, all the way from Miami to New Orleans on January 16th to the Super Bowl.